What jobs will AI take and what roles will be done by agents by 2026?
It's anyone's guess. I mean, the thing about agents is it has to do it right and has to be repeated 100%, 100% of the time, right? Like if you say, agent, drive my kid to school, you're not going to be happy if it drives your kid to the pool one day, right? I mean, it's like the kid says, hey, yeah, today I don't feel so well. I think I need to cool down, so drive me to the pool, right? Like your agent can't just let the kid do that.
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name is Jeff. I'm here with Peter Lynn again. Practical AI is brought to you by Pocket AI. Pocket AI is a tool that you can use to edit the weights of your model. With Pocket AI, you can prune over 60% of the weights in your models while increasing accuracy. Peter, little blog by Sam Altman, our friend Sam, kind of dives into the concept of agents, and we'll include a link to a YouTube discussion about it. But essentially, agentic AI agents is kind of all the rage, and the predictions are that these are going to make a serious dent in the workforce, either in 2025 or in 2026, but probably no later than 2026. So the question is, what is an agent? What is agentic AI? And is this something to be that we should keep on our radar? Is this of interest?
Stuff interesting. Agents have been around for at least 20 years from my experience, and probably longer than that. Before the whole neural network craze, there's a standard called physical agents that's been around for at least 30 years. So agents are actually used today all over the place. The difference is they're coded by some human being, usually in some language or in a rule language of some sort. And so yeah, they're used in high rises, they're used in a whole bunch of things. So
What's an
agents,
example of a current agent that would be used today that's currently in place that's not AI based or LM based?
so in many cases, for example, like earthquake sensors or railway sensors, there are small pieces of software that monitor specific things about railways and the switches in a railroad, right? So it monitors the health, when to do things, when not to do things. So there are these agents that are running on really small power devices, and then it sends the information to some bigger central computer that then does the coordination of like, okay, I've got 4,000 messages from agents all out in the physical world, sending information, and now I need to coordinate like, okay, this train is traveling from Berlin to wherever, and I need to switch the tracks, but there's 12 trains, and they're all on similar tracks. But at some point, I got to coordinate when to switch so that trains don't crash, right? And so there's agents monitoring the tracks, monitoring the trains, and then there's a software control system that then monitors all the traffic, and then it coordinates what to do to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So like in Japan, all the trains they're running on the software, and a lot of the software are using agents.
Okay, so obviously there's a place for this, right? Where in that scenario, a human has applied a lot of intelligence into code. And I think where the agentic AI wants to go is it could be a little bit more generic, where you can just tell the LLM, do this for me, and it will be able to do it. How far away are we from that? And is that a realistic expectation of agentic AI?
So I think the idea that they're pitching is, in theory, you ought to be able to train a LLM or something like LLM to do a very specific set of tasks. And so it should be faster to build agents because you're now interacting with that language model to build it. Now, the problem is you can't run GPT-01 on a small device on a train track somewhere in, like Berlin. It's not going to happen. But you can use the existing agents that are running on those tracks, send it to some other system, and then in theory, you could use a language model to build that control agent that then communicates with all those physical devices that spread on all the tracks to coordinate and choreograph how the trains move, what tracks are they on, when do you switch the tracks, when do you make sure that the trains arrive in the right place, in the right order.
So do you think that the future of this agentic AI is going to be one where there are people that are training specific agents, or do you think there's going to be a broad sort of monolithic LLM that will be sort of agent agnostic, and you could basically say, hey, I want you to be I want you to make sure airplanes don't crash into each other as they're landing, or I want you to do my bookkeeping for me, and it'll just be able to do it.
So I think until models get 1,000 times more efficient, you're not going to get agents deploy physically out in the world, right? Because you still need, I mean, if you're still running GPT-4 or you're running O1, you can't, it has to run in the cloud, right? You can't just offload that to some little tiny pocket-sized computer running on some, some physical place out in the world. It's so until we get to the point where AI runs outside the data center efficiently and doesn't burn electricity, what you're going to see is people will use LLMs to train agents to do specific things, and then that code will work in concert with the language model. So like you might give it a command that'll go through a voice model to translate from voice to text. And they might go through LLM to convert that to a command. And the command then goes to some other system that actually runs the actual operation or task to do the thing. And so in that sense, it's agentic AI because you're using LLMs, you're using all these other things to kind of speed up development.
Okay, so I mean, practically, I think for most people, like do my taxes. That's something that I think we would love to have the ability to do that. So do you think the future is that one of the monoliths will be doing that soon, or do you think that someone is instead going to come out with a refined model that specifically is designed to do that well?
I think for something like taxes, I would say no, at least not in the US. Mainly because the tax code changes every year and it's so complicated that, like, if you use TurboTax, for example, if you start TurboTax on February 1st, next time you open it, it's going to get updates because some things change. And until you file it, like every time I file TurboTax, you open it up, it checks with TurboTax's services, hey, are there any new changes for tax codes or this or that, and it brings it down. And so, could you do that with a language model? Yes. Does it make sense? No, because the text code is so complicated that you do need a human being to interpret because text codes are kind of fuzzy.
Hmm. Maybe I'm going to argue with you on that. I mean, it seems like that's the perfect place for AI because it might even have more information on the tax code than an individual person might, right?
Right, but if you're TurboTax, so you've got, dozens or hundreds of tax experts reading the tax laws every year and figuring out what you can actually write off within reason and what you can't write off.
Yeah, it's in that respect, it's kind of a risk management thing, and I guess we haven't really gotten into how well AI models are at managing
Yeah.
risk.
Well, if you're someone that doesn't make a lot of money, like let's say you make less than 60K a year and you just file 1040 easy every year, then yeah, you're fine. You can use a agent tax software or like tax GPT or something and it can do it. But if you're Warren Buffett, then no, because your portfolio is so complicated that like it
Yeah.
needs a medical professional.
All right. So last question then. Everyone's freaking out about agents and AI taking people's jobs. What jobs will AI take, and what roles will be done by agents by 2026?
It's anyone's guess. I mean, the thing about agents is it has to do it right and has to be repeated 100%, 100% of the time, right? Like if you say, agent, drive my kid to school, you're not going to be happy if it drives your kid to the pool one day, right? I mean, it's like the kid says, hey, yeah, today I don't feel so well. I think I need to cool down, so drive me to the pool, right? Like your agent can't just let the kid do that.
You're saying that a kid could basically hack?
Yes,
Yeah,
I would.
yeah, no, that's for sure. That'd be my pastime for sure if I was 8 years old or 12 years old. Well, let me
Right.
throw out one prediction that I think a great role for an agent slash robot would be a companion for elderly in old folks home, right?
Yeah, that would work. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a good discussion. We'll keep an eye on agents and we'll post that video in the discussion box. Remember, you can follow us on Spotify too. We're there as well. Ask questions, like, subscribe, and we'll be back next time for another topic. Thanks, everyone.